How's it going, everybody? This is Van Damage. I'm going to be doing a complete 100% how you do it build for the Pelican 1200 boombox. It's going to be essentially the exact same as the first one that I did. I'm just going to do a couple of cosmetic modifications to it, move some things into different spots. Hopefully it'll be a little bit more of a space saver. And I hope you enjoy the following video. I will take you through the steps as I do them. Just show you, how exactly I go about figuring out where things go. And if anybody is thinking about trying to do this project or is looking at it and be like, oh, that'd be cool to start, but I don't know how to do it, I don't know, it looks like it's so difficult. Well, I'm going to try and hopefully show you that it's not very difficult, so anybody who wants to build one of their own, you'll be able to follow this video step by step and hopefully be able to complete your own. If you guys have any questions, I'll say this all at the end again, but if anybody has any questions throughout the video, or, just leave the comments below, and I will get back with you. So, I hope you all enjoy this, and, yeah, let's get started. Alright, to get started, I'm going to show you the parts and pieces that you're going to need to do this build. You don't have to go with what I'm using. I'll put in the description below exactly everything that I used, and that way if you want to take this on, you can, just go to the list and go, oh, what do I need to do this? Oh, okay, I need that wire. And bam, you'll be good to go. So, let's see, to start off with, you always got to have the speakers. I'm using 3.5-inch DLS was in my other builds. For the small ones, I used the Kicker DSC. There we go. DSC35s. 3.5-inch speakers, 4 ohms. Like these, they're fairly cheap. It's only about $30 a pair, so they're not too expensive. Of course, you can always go cheaper. You don't have to go with Kickers. I just like them because of their coaxial, so you do get a little bit of bass out of them, and you get the highs that you really want while you're listening to music. Let's see, from there, I did have all these in the box, but I accidentally stopped recording on the last take on it, so I started again, take 2. Let's see, from the speakers, or to the speakers, you need an amplifier. This is probably the last time I'm going to use one of these guys, just because I've been told that there are better options out there, but I had already ordered this before being told that, and I'm not about to waste the money on buying new ones and trying to return this. Basically, this is a 15-watt RMS amplifier, so 15 watts, give or take, to each speaker. You use a DC adapter, DC plug-in for it, which is this guy right here, which is a 2.1 by 5.5 millimeter male adapter, and I also have a 2.1 by 5.5 millimeter adapter for the charging port. And you're going to have to attach that to a little plate of metal. It just makes it a little bit easier. I've got one previously cut out from the box that I had to rebuild yesterday because it fell apart on me. So I'll just be using this. I'm going to clean it up a little bit, and basically all I do is drill a hole, mount the adapter to it, and then with 4 screws mount this to the box. So that's all that is. It's simple, easy. I say that a lot, don't I? Alright, so let's see. That I showed you the amplifier. You have your RCA input and also an auxiliary input, which I'm going to be using both of those on this build. So let me set that down there. This right here, why did it get dark all of a sudden? There we go. This right here is going to be the auxiliary adapter. This is what mounts to the box, so you plug in here. It's a female end, and I used a auxiliary to RCA adapter cable. That way, plug into there and plug these directly to the amplifier. And it's threaded, so you can screw it straight onto the box, and don't worry about it. Let's see. You got the wires that come with the speakers. These will be connected to the amplifier as long as they are long enough. I'm going to move a couple things around, so I might actually have to solder wire onto those speakers instead. Let's see, I showed you this guy, which is the adapter, or the plug-in for that. Oh yes, and I'll do all this at one time. Why does this keep getting dark all of a sudden? That's weird. Huh. Let's see. It's auto-focusing it elsewhere, which is making it... What the fudge? There we go, lighting up now. I don't know what's going on with my camera. It's been doing this lately. It might just be because of the clouds outside. I've got my window open, so it might just not be adjusting properly. Alright, so, as I was saying, I will be using on this one Bluetooth, and I'll show you how I put it in at the same time. I'm not going to be doing... This video, like I said earlier, will be shot as I progress through it, so it'll probably take me a couple of days to finish this. I'm using Shure Electronics. I was looking up other stuff earlier today. So it's Shure Electronics. The model is a Bluetooth 4.0 audio receiver board, wireless music stereo for iPhone, blah 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 blah. Basically, it submits out a Bluetooth signal, and you can connect to it. Comes in this nice little fancy box, and always with electronics, be careful not to touch anything on the board itself, any of the well, other than what you absolutely have to, but the electronics on here, always try not to touch them. These are the RC adapters, you're okay to touch those, because if you touch them, you could end up messing the board up with the oils off of your hands and whatnot. I'm going to focus this on the board itself. Okay, if you see here, this is actually the antenna. So what I'm going to do with that, and give you a better look at it, there we go. But it's basically this gold wire that goes up and down. That's so that you can get signal. Oh, let me touch. No, not focused. Focused, I think. Okay, but yeah, basically that's your antenna on the board, so that your device can pick up the signal from it. And what I'm going to do, I've saw it done before, is you can actually solder a wire to that. I'm going to solder about 6 to 8 inches of wire to it to increase the signal. Because what I noticed with my first build, which I'm actually going to do it to that as well, is that inside I can get about my entire apartment, which is give or take 60 feet long. I can go from I can drop my box off at this end of the apartment next to the window, walk to my front door, pick up my pizza with my phone in my pocket, and I will have signal the entire time. It won't degrade, it won't make any kind of fuss. But when I took it out on the job, come on, close. It didn't exactly work the same way. I only got about 3 foot of signal. After I got about 3 feet away from my box, the signal got interrupted a little bit. It also could have had to do with where I was. Not going to get into it, but basically I'm going to attach an extra bit of wire to it. I've got spare lengths from whenever I had to do grounds for different bits and pieces, so I had little lengths about this long left over, so I can just use that instead of, I need to, anyways. On that, it has RC adapters to it, or RCA cable inputs, so I'll be using this to plug it from the RCA on the board to the auxiliary on the amplifier. You can go auxiliary to auxiliary, or you can go, excuse me, that kind of hurt. Or you can go from RCA to RCA, depending on how you're building it. It's really up to whoever is building the box. And the way I'm going to do mine, it's going to be a little different. I am going to put Voltmeter on this one as well. They sent me the wrong one, but I'm not going to argue it too much because it is smaller. This looks to me like it'll be a lot easier to attach to the box. The other one I kind of had to wedge it in, angle it in to get it to sit just right, and I actually frayed one of the wires on the box that I just rebuilt. So this will probably work out a little bit better. I don't know. We'll find out. I've got to get really thin, long screws, so that is one part that I don't have at the moment. So I will be making a list and picking up more parts tomorrow after work. Let's see. I'll get to this guy later. Let's see. For the Bluetooth board, the wire isn't exactly long enough, so I'm going to use this, just a little 3-inch extension. This will give me the length that I need. I don't think I needed it on my last box, but just in case, I picked up this. It was only a couple of dollars, so better safe than sorry, and I can always use that for other stuff. Oh, what else have I not shown you that goes in here? The button. This is a LED button, so it lights up whenever you turn it on. A blue ring here will light up. Everything, all the electronics on here are going to be blue. So this is going to be the main power button. I also, add to the list, I also have to go and get a blue button for the Bluetooth, or maybe a different color button. I haven't decided just yet. Probably ask the individual that I'm building this for what exactly they want on it, and then go from there. So that's the button. And, of course, the Chrome battery. It's 9 volt, or 12 volt direct current, 9 amp hours. I keep getting those backwards. So that's the big battery that I'll be using on this. And I'm very, very, very slowly realizing this is going to be like a 30-minute video. Yeah, so that's the parts you need. You're going to need some screws. Not screws, but nuts and bolts. These will be the ones that I'm using. It is an M5? Yeah, M5 type bolt. I bought these locally. I'm currently in Japan, so I'm going off of what they label their stuff as. This is an M5 bolt. A little bit longer, so this will fit through the box and whatever piece that I'm going to be using it on. You can get these fairly cheap. You can get a pack of like 20 or 30 of them for a couple of dollars. So that's why I'm using those. Before I was using the ones that they look a lot nicer, but they're a lot more expensive. So I'm going to try and go a little bit cheaper on my builds from now on. You can use Allen keys on this to tighten and loosen it up. I just think it looks a little bit better. But I might use these on this build just because of who it's for. But on future builds, I'm just going to use the generic, what is this, 2, 4, 6-sided screw, nut, bolt, whatever it is, I don't know. As far as tools, if you're going to use that one particular, you're going to need a Allen key. I've just got this one I can clip on my key ring, and actually use it, for different sizes. These are the most common sizes out here, so it actually works perfectly. Also got this little guy. This is all the side screws that I use as well, and a couple extra. I use this small bit right here whenever I'm installing the voltmeters. My mistake. I actually use this guy to drill out a lot of holes right next to each other because you can't really get in there to saw it out. So I'll actually show you that whenever I come to it, but I just use a very, very small drill bit. I have a smaller one now that I actually use, and I just keep drilling holes, corner, 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 middle, middle, and then just keep drilling between it until the holes are very close together. And then I take an X-Acto knife and just kind of wedge it in there to try and cut between it. And because it's a plastic Pelican case box, they are very easy to cut through. So, I'll cut through that, and then I just take the X-Acto knife and shave off on the edges until I get it exactly right to where I can kind of push in whatever I'm going to use or whatever I'm cutting the hole out for. And, you push that through, then you drill the holes, mount it to it perfectly, and, you're good to go. Let's see, I also will be using 22 gauge wire. I'm trying to remember if this is either 22 or 18 gauge. I can't remember if it's 22 is the smaller, 18 is the bigger. But I'll be using this, it's either 22 or 18. I've used both on different builds, so don't have to be real too particular. That's getting into stuff that I'm not exactly 100% sure on. So this is, since I have a lot of it left over, this is the wire that I'll be using. Let's see, you'll also need these paddle things to hook up to the battery. What else? You'll need about 4 of these, because you'll also need a 10 amp fuse. I use that just in case if, I'm charging my box on a wall charger and sometimes I get lightning storms out here. I don't want to accidentally, lightning strike the building or, whatever happened, and then it just sends an abundance of power through the unit, and I don't want to fry anything in it, because after a while, if you look into building these, it gets a little expensive. Of course, you're going to need wire cutters, strippers, some heat shrink. The heat shrink is cheap. You can get a spool of it for, $3-4. It's not expensive at all. But where it gets expensive is whenever you're buying the heat shrink gun, because it heats up the air, it blows on it, and then it melts everything to where, or it shrinks it down over the wire to keep it from being exposed. Well, I went the $10 route instead of the $50 route, and I bought a miniature, just a little lighter blowtorch thing. You can see there's a little flame on the camera, but the flame actually comes out about here. This was cheap enough. I got the lighter for about $5-6, and then a can of refillable of the gas to refill it for another $5 or $6. So it's a lot cheaper, a lot less expensive. Plus, you can use this for other things, like, I don't know, lighting a fire, candles. If you're a smoker, you can use it to light your cigarettes. Whatever your fancy is. So, let's see. So I went over the parts that are going in it, some of the tools, the wiring. You're going to need a drill, maybe a hole cutting set. I got a hole cut set just so that I can, cut out the holes, and then I just use I keep forgetting the name of this tool. Jigsaw. There we go. But then I use a jigsaw to go behind that and actually cut out the holes. Here is the box that it will be going into. This one is yellow. The person I'm building it for asked for a yellow box, so that's the one I got. I will also be etching in a drawing on this as well, and I have Dremel that I will be using to do that with. So, alright, now that I have shown you and told you all the parts that I will be using, you need a soldering iron as well and solder, because you want to make sure you have good, solid connections everywhere. Remember that. So, now that I have given you a good idea on everything that you will be using, I'm pretty sure I left out 1 or 2 things. I can't really remember everything all at once, but, hopefully I've given you a good idea on what you need, and I will be telling you more as I go. So, let's get to the actual building of the box. Okay, to start out with your build, the easiest, well, I wouldn't say the easiest, the most painstaking part of it is trying to cut out the holes for your speakers, so that's where I like to start. It just gives me a good starting point, hence that's where I start there. But because it's the part that I find the most aggravating, the hardest, I like to start there first just so I can go ahead, get it out of the way, and then everything else is gravy from there. So to do that, because I'm using 3.5-inch speakers, and they're going to be sitting on the top, I just take a screw and screw them together in the middle, like so. That way they're not, moving around. You can pick them up, move them where you want, but it also gives you the spacing that you need. Now, when you go to a bigger box, you're going to want to use the templates that come with the speakers. These don't really come with a template, so I'm not able to use that. But they do come with 2 flaps that stick out that you can screw together. So that's what I did. So after screwing it together, you just place it on your box where you want it to try to get it as centered as possible. And after you do that, just trace it out. Let's see if I can focus. Alright, you can see I traced it out with a pencil, so it's been done very lightly. It's just enough to where I can get my jigsaw in there and drill it out. Once it's drilled out, you just take your X-Acto knife, like I said earlier, and just keep carving away until you get the holes just right. This is a little off-center, though, so what I'm going to do is erase it, try again, and then once I've done that, then I'll start drilling it. Did I not record that? Ah, I must not have hit record on the last one. Alright, so anyways, as I said whenever I didn't have my camera recording, I've cut the holes out. You can see I just got started on it. This is not how it's gonna, this is not the end hole. You can still see the etchings around it. This is the pencil that I just traced out. I use pencil because you can erase it. This is going to be, like, I'm going to have a couple other things on here, but I don't want stray markings on it just for, you know, aesthetic reasons. But as you can see, if I can, I don't want to damage the prongs, but yeah, got it so the speakers are kind of fitting in there. They sit exactly where I want them to, which is a good thing. So I can get started on the rest. I'm going to use my X-Acto knife, if I can remember where I put it. Somewhere around here. I think I left it back there. But I'm going to just slowly start carving out on it. Remember, take your time on these. You don't want to rush it. If you rush it, you're going to make mistakes, and it's not going to look as good as it would had you taken your time. So I'm going to start carving this out. Once I get one speaker in where I want it, then I'll shoot another video and attach it to this one so you can see the progress a little bit as it goes on. This is going to be a very long video. So let's get going. Okay, I've got the first hole, I believe, completely drilled out, and this is what it looks like so far. I ended up having to go with the jigsaw anyways, just because the hole is going to be a lot bigger than what I thought it was. But the speaker fits in like a glove. Bam. That's how it's going to sit. That's it. What you do have to do with this, however, is when you place the speaker in, you'll notice that these little ridges here kind of get in the way of it sitting nice and flush like it should. So what you're going to have to do, what I use is a tin snip that I got for some little models that I built. This guy right here. Just take it and snip out little pieces of the plastic. When you do that, it makes it nice flush with the rest of the box, and everything, if I can get it to freaking snip, will fit on there just right, but I'll clean that up a little bit later. I'm going to drill out the other hole, but you can see the significant difference between hole A, hole B. Now you can notice down here it's a little rough. I'm going to clean that up with this guy. I found it. I was using it to whenever I was soldering a little earlier. But if you watch, you can actually very easily carve away at the box, just little bit by little bit, just to clean it up some. Be careful when you do it. These blades are sharp. Mine is not as sharp because I've dulled it over the past 2 days working on this box and a different one. Clean that up. But as you can see, it just, you know, just to get some of the little shavings away, it's a little cleaner now. So I'm going to work on this, and in the meantime, we're going to go to my later recording. So I'll enjoy this, you enjoy the rest of the video. Alright, so I got the speakers mounted. Didn't take as long as I thought. Boom! That's how they'll look. They're they're as well centered as I could get them. Basically I centered it off of this little post here with the center of the, yeah, whatever. I screwed it down with 3 bolts just because you don't have a whole lot of space, and I figured it would look pretty tacky if I kind of cocked them to the side and had the, you know, these guys sitting up and down instead of in line with each other. Besides, I'm going to put a speaker grill over, not a speaker grill, but a computer fan grill. Another use for other objects that you can find at hardware stores. But I'm going to put those over these to help protect them a little bit. That way if something gets dropped on it, it's going to have a better chance of survival than it would without the protection. So now that I've done that, I'm going to go to the next biggest thing, which is the battery. This guy. So in order to hold it in the box, you get one of these things. Not sure what most people call them. Because I'm a plumber, we call it plumber's tape, because we use it to hold pipes up a lot. So that's why we call it that. Well, not why we call it that. That's why I've been told it's called, so that's all I know it as. If anybody knows any other name for this, post it down below, just so somebody doesn't go to the store and go, I'm looking for plumber's tape. I found this in the auto section. So as you can see, it's got, you know, big, small for the holes. And I will be using this to mount it as soon as I can cut it. So that's going to be an entertaining adventure. Alright, let's go to that. Alright, I'm about to mount the battery. The way that I'm doing this is I have a bracket that I showed you a minute ago after I did the speakers. And I took that bracket, and basically cut it into two little pieces. This is going to go around the long end of the battery, and this will fit over the top. So whenever I mount it, it will basically look like this, mounted inside the battery. I'll show you a little bit better once I've done it. But short end will go over the top of the battery like so. And the longer end will go around it, hold on, this way right here. And you'll mount it to the back of the box here and on the side over here. One thing that I ran into whenever I started doing this is before I drilled anything, what you want to do is always make sure that your pieces will fit exactly where you want them to be and you'll have plenty of space. Now, when I did that, my board didn't fit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mount the brackets where I can actually use one screw to mount one corner of this and the bracket at the same time. Now the back of it, most boards don't come covered like this. You'll see all the exposed pieces that were soldered, but luckily this board doesn't have that. It just has a couple of spots here and there. And the bottom of it that I'm going to be mounting to is this corner here. And you can see there's nothing in this area that can accidentally ground to the brackets themselves. So I have nothing to worry about on that end. This one isn't one I'm using. This one actually, whenever I tested it on my first box, it gave me a lot of feedback. So I'm really just using it to make sure that I can get the holes drilled out correctly for the other boards that I use. But once I get that mounted up, I will show you what it looks like and explain it a little more. So hang tight for just about 5 seconds or so. Okay, I may have jumped ahead just a little bit on this. Went ahead and installed the battery and the Bluetooth at the same time and put the amplifier in. Since all it is mounting, you know, screwing nuts and bolts together, there's really no need to. I'm about to do this, let me tell you and then explain to you. I'll just show you everything that is done so far. I hooked up all the cables that are just, you know, easy connections. But here's what it looks like so far. I just installed or put the RCA cables in and the auxiliary here and ran it to the Bluetooth board. And this right here is going to be the power for the amplifier. Just screwed everything in, not going to fall out. I did wedge in some foam here like I said earlier because this was quite loose. It wasn't just a little bit. But easy enough to fix since you have the plug and pull foam. This is just that 2.1 by 5.5 millimeter adapter. All I have to do now with this is remove some more of the insulation from it, install the push button here, and the voltmeter here. And I did forget one more push button because I didn't order 2 of them online. I had one locally that I was going to get and then didn't have time to do that today. But I will go as far as I can and then finish up this video. So I guess it made no point doing that because I'm going to splice all these together later. Yeah, still trying to figure all this out. Alright, but anyways, everything is mounted to the, as far as the electronics are concerned. Now all I have to do is the buttons and the meter. Yeah. So let's go get to that. Oh, helps if I hit that. Okay, so it's been a few days since I worked on this, but made a little bit more progress on it, so I'm going to show you what I've done. I ended up going ahead and mounting both the auxiliary and the power supply. So here you have the auxiliary where you can plug in cable to the headphone jack on whatever device you use, and the power supply here. That's where you're going to plug in the adapter to charge it, and when everything's said and done, it will run straight to the battery. As you can see, I have the auxiliary cable going into RCA, which is running from here straight to there, and the Bluetooth going from RCA to auxiliary. I might end up changing this up and just going RCA to RCA and auxiliary to auxiliary, but for now this is just how I've got it mounted in. But it wouldn't be a problem to do that. I just need to get the right length of wires, which at this moment I only have 3-foot lengths of it, which will take up quite a bit of space in here, and I don't really want to clutter it up too much. So I've also drilled out the hole right there for the on-off switch, this guy. So to fit it in there, what I had to do, I didn't have a big enough drill bit, so what I did was I drilled it out, and then I took my X-Acto knife here and shaved around it and kept trying to put the push button in until it fit, which it now does. So if I can get that back in there, bam, and now you have a mounted power on-off switch. And next I'm going to drill out a hole, and I'm going to put the Bluetooth up top like so, and then the voltmeter is probably going to be in one of the upper corners of it, just because the one that I have is very tiny, very small, doesn't take up much space at all. I don't have a screw small enough or long enough. Oh, I do have small enough, but not one that's long enough to actually screw it to the box. So what I'm going to end up doing is probably using some hot glue on these tabs here, and that should hold it in place. I'm going to test it out a bit before I end up giving this to the person that this is being built for, and once I have tested it and made sure that this will not fall off, it will be good to go for them. Alright, so let me finish putting in the voltmeter, which I'll explain a little bit on how I'm going to do that. I have a drill set that I bought at the store, and what I found out is it's very, very difficult to carve out a square or rectangular section with a jigsaw. So what I've started doing, tested it out a couple of times on my personal boxes, is I'll take this drill bit, it's the smallest one I could find. Once I've traced out the outline for the voltmeter, I just take this, and then on the inside of the outline I just drill holes in each corner, and then between, roughly centered, and then I just keep doing that till I can't really drill anymore, and then I take my X-Acto knife and just cut between the holes, pop out that section, and just shave off a little bit at a time, wedge in the voltmeters, and just wash, rinse, repeat until I get it exactly fitted. So I'm going to get started on mounting the other two pieces. Once I have that, I'll show you how all of the wiring is going to be ran, because that's the part that most people look at and they're like, oh, that's way too complicated, but I'll show you it's not complicated at all. Alright, so let me go and do a little bit more work on this, and I'll be back. Okay guys, so I've started getting into the soldering a little bit. Let me move some of my tools around here. Alright, to wire this up, I'm going to try and give you the simplest version I can of this. In order to do this properly, you have to figure out which switch is going to go where. So for mine, I have the silver toggle switch, which is going to be the on and off for the whole box. Now it's a 4-prong one, so I actually had to go online and find the wiring schematic for it. Whenever you find a switch that you like, if it's a 2-prong one, easy enough, power in, power out, you're done. If you got one that has LED lights, then it comes a little, not complicated. All you gotta do is add a grounding wire most of the time. The one I got has 4 prongs to go from, so I had to find the schematic for it. But basically what I've done so far is I've already soldered the Bluetooth switch to the prong and the amplifier. So whenever I power on the box, basically what that's going to do is it's going to power on my amplifier, and it's going to allow power to go to the Bluetooth switch. Now power to the Bluetooth is going to be stopped at the switch. The Bluetooth has red, black, and yellow wiring. So red's going to be the power to it, black is the ground, and yellow is going to be the power to the Bluetooth board itself. So now that I have that figured out, and I've already soldered, like I said, I've already soldered the amplifier and the Bluetooth switch to my main switch. Next I'm going to be soldering the battery to it. Well, not the battery, but the wires to the battery. So what I'm going to have to do is a power line from here is going to be ran straight up to this toggle switch. The ground wire, once I have everything else wired in and I know where my wires are going to be running, I'm going to connect all the grounding cables together. That way everything is going to be grounded to the battery. Now if you saw my first video, you saw that I used a common ground, which you can still do that. I'm not going to do it just because once I have built this, I'm not adding anything to it, not going to be really removing anything. So I really have no need for making a common ground. I can just, solder all the wires together, put some heat shrink on it, heat it up, call it a day. So let me finish up with the soldering of the power, and then I will give you a real quick, just final run through on everything. I am basically like 10 minutes away from being done with this box and being able to power it on and play some music. So let me finish up here and I'll tell you what I did. Okay guys, I pulled a pretty long night last night, ended up passing out as soon as I finished it. But the box is completed. Shabam! So you can see it works. Yep, power on. Voltmeter works. Bluetooth button. Yeah. Pop. Off. Easy enough. Let me show you how I wired it all in here. I know I didn't really do a video on how to solder everything together, where it all goes, but whenever I started doing it, I realized my build is completely different from the first time I did it. I have a couple of different things in here, so I'm pretty sure and certain that whenever other people go to do these, they're going to do the same thing. They're going to have different parts, and I'm not going to be able to explain to you individually how you do it, but I can give you a rough idea. So what I'm going to do is take my camera right here, and I'm going to show you how this all works after I clean out a little bit of fuzz that was still in there. So, yeah. Alright. Still recording. There we go. Okay, so we'll start from the back of the speakers. Right here's the voltmeter. You have a positive and negative wire coming out of it. So what I did, I actually took it, and let me scoot back so I can get this in the shot. But yes, I took the wire from the voltmeter and attached it to the on-off switch here. So as soon as you turn the unit on, the voltmeter will power on. That way you know that it's on as well, or that way you know the whole system is on. And you can see how much battery you have left. Then I also ran from the main power switch a wire up to the Bluetooth on and off switch, which is this red wire here. That's actually where I need to go back with my torch and Well, let me fix this. And this is how I use the shrink wrap. Just a little bit of heat, and you can watch it shrink. But you gotta be careful. You don't want to actually go back and melt your wires or catch this on fire, like you can see me kind of doing. There we go. That should do it. Oh, that's a lovely stink. And I have another one that I didn't do, so I need to clip that and go back behind it, and lovely. I'll do that a little bit later. Yeah, just whenever you're done, always make sure you go back over and make sure that you shrunk your heat shrink. I left mine open a little bit just because, or I didn't heat shrink it just because I wanted to make sure everything worked the way it needed to, just in case I needed to switch out some of the wires. But okay, anyways, so power to the voltmeter, power to the Bluetooth. The switch that I got for the Bluetooth, it has power in, power out, and a grounding wire. So I just put the grounding wire for the voltmeter and this switch here, and also the main power switch as well, because, oh crap, I forgot to, oh, that's lovely, there's an exposed wire in there. I need to go back with some tape. This is why you always go over everything when you're done, just to make sure you didn't goof up, which I did. Oops. So, anyways. Oh, where was I? Grounding wires. Yeah, all the grounding wires are wired together here. Just soldered them into one common wire. Brought that wire over to the grounding, to the negative terminal on the battery. Okay, so I brought the grounding wire all the way over to the battery. I also took the ground cable for, let me show you. Right there is in the bottom left, right now, in the middle. You can kind of see it if I can get a hold of my camera and get it to focus properly. There we go. So that right there is the 2.1 by 5.5 charging port. If I can, it's kind of hard to do this one-handed. But yeah, there's where you charge it. So I ran both of those directly to the battery, the positive and negative terminal, and I pinched my finger. Let's see, from the battery though, for the positive, I just ran a short wire straight over to a 10 amp fuse. That's to help protect the rest of what's in this box from being overpowered, or if there was a short in the line, it would protect it a little bit better. More good. But from, let me see, yeah, from the main power switch, you go to the Lepai amplifier that I'm using. Right here, the auxiliary cable, so you can plug directly into it, or you can use Bluetooth right here. Bam, Bluetooth board. I just wired that directly in. I didn't use the, you can use these, the pigtails, or the 2.1 by 5.5 plugs. It comes with a length of wire attached to it. You can use those. I chose not to, just because it's a pain. You don't have very much space to work with in here. I mean, as you can see from this one down here that I had to use, it's kind of bunched up and scrunched, all that fun stuff. Yeah, that's basically it. Not really much to it. It's pretty easy to do. Let me flip you around here, and I will tell you everything you need to do this particular build that I did. Focus. There we go. Focused. Okay, so in order to build this exact model that I got, I'll give you a list of everything down below. That way you can go to it and, oh, okay, he ordered this. Let me see what I can find. It's basically to your liking, so I'm not going to really give you links. I will tell you that I found everything on Amazon, so that's a good starting place. You might be able to find some of this on like Newegg or Best Buy for like speakers, but I'd stick to like Amazon and eBay mostly for all of this. You're going to need a digital voltmeter. That's just so you know how much battery is left. You can get them pretty much in any color you want. So digital voltmeter, you're going to need two on-off switches. Doesn't matter what it is. If you saw my first video, I had a toggle switch to turn the box on, and then a push button to turn on the Bluetooth. So you can do either or you can do 2 push buttons, 2 toggle switches. I've got a guy I'm building another box for, and he wants 2 toggle switches for everything, and green LEDs. So, fingers crossed those will come in soon and I can get working on that. I used Kicker DSC35 speakers. For this size box, you're going to need, you can't really go with larger speakers. I use 3.5. They fit perfectly. I have plenty of room for everything. So those work. I got a Lepai LP-A68 amplifier. It's 15 watts RMS. These speakers can't really handle more than, I want to say it was 20 watts, or it might have been 15. So they don't need much power in order to work. So just a small amplifier is more than enough. I got 2 RCA cables in here with male adapters on both sides. So you'll have male adapter RCA, male adapter auxiliary. I got an auxiliary extension, just a 3-inch long wire. That way I could plug it into the amplifier from the Bluetooth board. Let's see, all the charging ports, the male and female, they're going to be the 2.1 by 5.5 millimeter adapters. For the male, you can get one with the wires already wired up, which is awesome to have. When I'm done with this, I'm going to take you over and show you how to actually modify a Yuasa car battery charger, because I ended up getting somebody to get one of my boxes and I had to give him my personal charger, so now I'm going to have to redo my charger. You get to see how that's done. So that'll be fun. But the female ones, the plugs, they don't come with wires, or I wasn't able to find one that had the mounting nuts on it. So you have to actually wire that up yourself. But it's easy enough. I was able to figure it out. So, I mean, anybody can figure it out. It's, same thing, 2.1 by 5.5 millimeter female plug adapter. Yeah, that's really it. The battery's a Chrome 9-volt, Chrome battery, 12-volt 9 amp hour. I always get those mixed up. So I can get a lot of play out of this. I had my other box out there and used it with Bluetooth for the better part of a week before I needed to charge it again. So it's got a lot of battery power. I'm not done with this yet. The video's not over. I'm actually going to draw in some pictures on here for the for my friend who wants this box. And yeah, so I'll put that on here, show you how I'm going to do it. Not really much to that one though, because I'm going to be etching it in with pencil, then go back with a Dremel and kind of try and follow the lines. So we'll see how that works, and let me get to that. Okay, as far as the charger is concerned, kind of skip a little bit. This is the charger for my for the box that I'm currently showing you now, or have been showing you. This is how I've modified it. I took the pigtail, the 5.5 or 2.1 by 5.5 millimeter adapter, and basically soldered it onto a car battery, or an automatic battery charger. So in the end, this is what you get. However, when I started out, this is what it came with. Basically, you put it on the battery terminals and you screw it in. Then you plug it into the wall and it charges. The reason why I like Yuasa is because it has an inline fuse. That way, if something happens in the socket, it'll stop it here. If it doesn't happen here, then I have my my fuse inside the box that'll stop it as well. It's kind of redundant, but better protection, better off you are. So I'm going to take this guy and attach it here. Now, if you get the ones with the pigtails, and you decide that you don't want to put this directly onto the terminal and you want to shave all this off, make sure you pay attention to where the positive and negative is. I'll give you a hint. Outside of these plugs is negative and the inside is positive. So as long as you can identify that, then you should be able to find it. But use a voltmeter. If you have any kind of doubts, use a voltmeter. Now I did get the wires backwards in my big ass boombox. But the Yuasa charger has something that it will detect faults. So if it can't charge it properly, it will fault out and it won't continue, which is great with that charger. So I was able to figure out what the wiring problem was, switch wires around a little bit, bam, everything was done. But yeah, so what I'm going to do with this, I'm going to clip the wires a little short, clip off these terminals. Now you can see red, positive, black, negative. Oh, positive is on the side with this, with the fuse. So I can clip these off. I don't have to really pay attention to, I don't have to sit there and, oh, let me clip this, solder it, then clip that and solder it. That way I don't lose it, because, you can easily figure it out. So I'm going to solder these together, and I will show you what the soldering looks like whenever I'm done. And then I'm going to use my, the heat shrink. I'm almost out of my first roll. Thank God. I've gone through 4 boxes, 5 boxes now, and haven't used it all. So let me go and do the heat shrink, soldering, and I'll show you the after result. So, okay, the box is now 100% completed. There's nothing more to do with it. They asked me to draw in a few things on it, so that is what I did. Drew on a couple of daisies, so that's their favorite flower. I was going to use my Dremel tool to kind of etch these out, and realized that I have actually lost that particular piece. There we go, refocus. Excuse me. But yeah, I've actually lost that particular piece to the Dremel, so I wasn't able to do it. But with a permanent marker, it should last a good amount of time, if not permanently, hopefully, fingers crossed. If not, they, always go back over it. But it's done. I've tested it out, broken in the speakers, and it's good to go. So, this is the completed Pelican 1200 boombox case. It's a very, very, very easy build. Sorry I didn't go into every step of how I soldered everything together. My battery had actually died, and I was really wanting to make some progress on it. I'm going to splice all these videos together, give you one nice long video, and hopefully you guys can build your own now. That's my main goal on here. Yeah, it's awesome to have people come up and be like, oh dude, I'd love you to build me one, I'll pay you to do it, this and that. It's fun to, it's great to have that and bring in a little extra change on the side. But my whole goal for doing these is to show people how easy it is. I'm not exactly the most mechanically or electrically inclined person by any means at all. But, I was able to figure these out. And I'm hoping that by showing you guys this, you can actually figure it out on your own. As always, if there are any questions on how I did any of this, please, please, please comment below. If I do another build in the future, I'm going to keep track of what questions I do have, and the next box that I build like this, or maybe more complex one, I will do a more in-depth video and actually show the soldering and how I accomplish everything. But yeah, that's really all I've got for it. Hopefully you guys learned something. If you didn't learn something, hopefully you enjoyed the videos. Probably going to be taking a break from doing these for a little bit, because this has consumed my weekends for quite a while now. Going to be going out doing my kayaking and snorkeling again. Good times. But, like I said, questions, comments, please drop them down below. I will always respond. I just love getting feedback from anybody. I know there's a couple people out there that will watch this video and, oh, you should have done it this way, you should have done it that way, you should have built your own box, this and that. This is my, I have no time to go out, build a box. I have no time to, sit there and figure out, all that craziness that can go into it. This is a basic, I want a boombox that works. I want something that I can call my own, and that's what this is. If in the future I decide that I want to actually go in and do a nice living room or some kind of set that I'm going to use for surround sound or something like that, then yes, I will be going out building my own stuff, lining it with felt and all that craziness. But as something that I am taking to work is getting thrown around in a work truck, that's what this is for. This will hold up against quite a bit of punishment. My medium build box that I take to work now, it has been dropped, it has been thrown, I've had pipes fall on it, it's fallen into the hole, and it continues to play like a champ. And that was my whole goal with this project, was to make sure that I had something that would actually last, and is simple enough that if something does go wrong with it, I can always go back in the future. That's a great movie, Back to the Future. But yes, in the future I can always go back and, take out the part that's messed up, broken, damaged, fried, what have you, and I can take it out, replace it, 20 minutes later, have it playing again. So that's what this is for. I didn't want to do anything that was, once you put it in, you're permanently stuck with it. So this one, I actually didn't hot glue anything. I figured out how to use my jigsaw a lot better. I managed to cut the hole smaller and shaved it out with an X-Acto knife. That worked amazingly. I showed you how I'd use the drill to cut out the square holes. You just stencil along it, drill inside the stencil a little bit further in, and then just with the X-Acto knife cut it out and just keep shaving away until you can fit it in there. I have a very, very, very itty-bitty little gap, but unless you're looking for it, you're really not going to notice it. But yeah, that's all there is to it. It's a very simple build, and yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed it. Again, comments, questions, leave them below. I always get back to you. Please share this on any social media that you guys may use. Subscribe to my channel. I'm gonna try and come up with some other, do-it-yourself type videos. Some other hobbies that might be interesting. I've got to kind of look around, see what I can find. If anybody has any suggestions on something that's not going to cost an arm and a leg, then please leave it. I'm looking for something else to do that will be quite fun. Till then, I'm just going to enjoy my time on this little itty bitty island that I got stuck on. So, anyways, I hope you guys have a good one, and bye.